Welcome again to another edition of Writings from the Hills. And today we're going to read a selection from a Jesse Stuart book, and it's called The Beatinest Boy. And many of us are familiar with the Jesse Stuart and his writings. One of his more famous books is a thread that runs so true about his adventures as a teacher. And this is actually a children's book that he wrote. He has wrote several ones. And I want to give a special thanks to the Jesse Stuart Foundation for giving us permission to use this book for our program. And again, this is actually a children's book. And we are going to read the section called Grandma to the Rescue. Grandma, wake up and see what I've got, David called as he pounded on his grandmother's bedroom door. Grandma, wake up and see what I got. Just a minute, she said, turning over in bed. Grandma found the matchbox on the chair she kept beside her bed, and she struck a match and lighted the kerosene lamp. Now come on in and show me, she said. David opened her door and rushed into the room with the little puppy in his arms. What is it, David? She asked, straining her eyes at the squirming object. What color is it? Get your specs on so you can see, David said. Grandma reached down to the chair beside her bed and got her glasses. She rubbed her sleepy eyes and put them on. Bring it closer so I can see, she said. David walked up beside the bed and held the puppy in his hands. It's a little hound, David, she said, patting his forehead with a wrinkled hand. But the poor little thing is nearly eaten up with mange. He's lost his hair and is nearly starved to death. Where on earth did you find him? I found him above the clouds in the hollow log. He said proudly, You know, something told me to go up there tonight. Gee, Grandma, I wish it had gone with me. The sun was shining on the clouds up there, and it was the prettiest place I'd ever seen. I was watching the sunlight on the clouds when I heard a dog whine. Then I went toward the sound, but I couldn't find the dog. Grandma sat down on the very log I found the orphan in. It was as still as a mouse, and then I heard him whine in the log. I was lucky to find him. Have you named him Orphan? Yes, Grandma. Somebody went away and left him on the high ridge. I think it must have been a fox hunter who left him. He doesn't have a mother and a father, and I don't either. I was an orphan until you took me in, and he's an orphan too. That's why I named him what I did. Well, I bet he's a fine-blooded hound puppy, David, Grandma said. Somebody left him to die of the mange. That's why you found him there. Can we save him, Grandma? Maybe we can, she said. He needs warm, sweet milk first. Then we'll get Bolivar Tussey to help us cure him of the mange. Bolivar is the best hound doctor in the valley. Gee, I hope we can save him, Grandma, David said, holding the puppy close. You go build a fire in the stove and I get up and dress, she said, and we'll warm the milk for him. He doesn't look like he's eaten for days. All right, Grandma. And David went into the kitchen. He put Orphan down on the floor where he laid a handful of kindling in the firebox. Then he struck a match and held it to the kindling. As the little flame leaped up and licked into the dry kindling, David laid sticks of stove wood carefully on the fire. When Grandma dressed and came in the kitchen, the fire was burning and the stove was getting hot. Go out to the cellar, David, and fetch me a crock of milk, she said. And David ran out to the kitchen and soon returned with a crock. Grandma Beverly took a long-handled spoon and stirred the cream that had risen to the top. Then she poured a pint of milk into the pan and set it on the top of the stove. Grandma, do you reckon we can save Orphan? David asked. I don't know, David, she told him. That mange is a good hold on him. When a dog loses his hair, he might be beyond saving. But we'll do our best. I hope we can save him, Grandma. The skinny hound whined weakly in David's arms. He got cold up there on that high ridge without a hair on his body, Grandma Beverly said. That's why he found a hollow log and crawled into it. But the poor thing almost froze to death up there. Grandma put her finger in the milk to see if it was warm enough. He wouldn't have lived much longer if I hadn't found him tonight, would he, Grandma? I'm afraid not, she said. Let's see if he's too far gone to eat. Grandma set the pan of milk down on the floor, and David got down on his knee beside it. Put the Orphan down and close to the pan. Put his nose close to the milk, David, and let him smell it. David pushed Orphan's nose down into the milk, and the puppy licked out with his little red tongue to taste it. Then he began to lap it up greedily. Oh, Grandma, he's eating. He's eating, David shouted. He's feeling better after he eats. Look how raw his skin is. He's bleeding in 2 or 3 places, Grandma. Orphan drank all the milk that was in the pan. Grandma, he needs more, Grandma David said. That's enough for him tonight, she said. We mustn't give him enough to founder him. Fix him in bed in the morning. We'll go see Bolivar. Can't we go tonight, Grandma? No, Bolivar will be in bed. Then we'll get up early in the morning, David said. You'll have to go to bed and get some sleep, and little Orphan will have to get some sleep too, after drinking all that milk. Grandma, can I let him sleep upstairs in my room tonight? David asked. Yes, if you make him a bed down on the floor, she said. Don't put him in the bed with you. We will try to get him well again so the hair will grow over his body, and he'll be a pretty hound puppy. All right, Grandma. I'll make him a bed on the floor under my bed, David said as he started climbing the steep stairs to his room. In the morning we'll take him to Bolivar Tussie's, won't we? That's right, David, she said, smiling, as she watched the boy climb the stairs with Orphan. Well, if you would like to read more from The Beatinest Boy by Jesse Stuart, you can check it out by going to our website at www.briggslibrary.com. Please remember to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Thank you.